Hey guys, so how's Germany?
It's wet,
It is very, very wet.
but
Have you
I've
seen any snow?
we have actually upon landing there was a very, very brief period right after landing that there was some snow.
Excellent.
So yeah, since then it has just been wet and windy, but there was a brief period that I can now say there was. So very much so.
Alrighty, so have you had a chance to scope out the show yet? Because it hasn't started yet, I believe.
The show itself hasn't started, but we have scattered out the location, and there's meetings happening from everyone that's rocking up to the show, happening kind of all throughout this week before the show even kicks off. We did see today them actually starting to put up like the ticket booth and things like that. So that there is kind of some infrastructure at least happening on the front end. I'm sure that there's been prep going on for a while inside some of the halls themselves. But yeah, so we're starting to see some of that come together, but yeah, nothing as of yet. Just everyone meeting together and and having lots of important conversations.
I think
Okay,
we've
so
met
can
with
you?
more Australians than anything else, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So all the Perth Mint guys we've come across with yeah, it's been pretty well, and I think it is because we have to travel so far. The Australians tend to be here for longer, whereas the Europeans just fly in for the 3 or 4 days that the show itself is actually on.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you got to make it
So
worthwhile.
are there any meetings you can hint at this stage that you've had, or give us any goss on?
Stacks.
Ah, nah, come on, you got to allude to more than that.
So we had a really good chat with the guys from Scottsdale,
Yep.
which I've known them for a decade or more now. So we actually got Josh Fair, who's the CEO of Scottsdale Mint, to we interviewed him for a little bit about the history of the Stacker Bar, what they were doing. They're actually creating a new facility in Wyoming that sounds very exciting. We've probably got a few product announcements that will come out of that video as well. So that was really good to see those guys. We've also met with the guys from AppMax because I think that there's a lot of opportunity to bring in some of their, because they've got a huge range of more lower mintage products that a lot of your customers are crying out for. So I think that one's going to be a good one as well.
Excellent. It sounds like you've hit the ground running over there.
Absolutely, yeah. Chatting to some of the other guys there and looking at their schedules of just that's it, back to back meetings. That's it. You really do kind of hit here and just start going one after the other.
Yeah, I mean, would you agree with the assessment that that little the hall in there at the moment looks like a speed dating center?
It really does. You get people meet up. You kind of compare a photo and go, yep, you're who I'm supposed to be meeting. And then sit down, have a chat for a half hour, an hour, and then move on to another table. I think that's a fairly apt description.
What's been your biggest standout point, Rubes? Because this is the first time you've been there.
Yeah.
What's been the biggest thing that you've gone, oh, wow, didn't expect that, or wow, that's bigger than I thought, or not as good as I thought?
It's been really interesting and good, I think, to discuss with some of these people. And it's one thing to be sending emails or whatever between, but my only real experience with meeting some of those other brands was when we went to the Perth Mint. And having some of the conversations we had there. But that's it, really kind of seeing everyone have those conversations and go, well, hey, how can our business, how can we help you? What products can we get you? And also the exchange of information as well of, well, what's the market looking like in Australia at the moment? Or, how's shipping? Or, you're kind of having these kind of casual discussions, but that can lead to quite big changes for both businesses, whether it's us getting stock or them getting something back in return as well. So it's been very interesting to see just what the kind of casual discussions and meetings can actually bring for both businesses.
So everybody we've spoken to in the market has said the same thing, and customers will be glad to know that is that premiums are coming down significantly.
Yes. Yeah, that has been a fairly common theme. So hopefully, we're actually on track for that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the only thing that premiums haven't dropped off entirely is US Eagles. They've come down a bit, but your premiums on your Britannias, your Maples, Philharmonics are down, sort of almost to what they were prior to this last run up. So there's plenty
That'll
of
be
stock
good to
available.
see. I'll believe it when they start filtering through, but yeah, it's good if that's what they're talking about. Dragging you back a little bit, Reuben, it always makes me smile. You're saying these casual conversations where people say, oh, you know, it must be good to go for a jolly, and you know, you're going for, I think Mark hinted at, might have been a previous phone call, Mark was talking about the beer and pizza night that Perth Mint put on, that we tend to go to religiously.
Yes.
And they are a lot of fun, don't get me wrong, but the conversations can be fairly intense, and can lead to some pretty major breakthroughs in different areas. And before you know it, you're agreeing to contracts and all sorts of things at 1 o'clock in the morning over beer and pizzas without realizing what's going on sometimes.
Well, that's it. It's a great way to kind of find out from each person what's going on. I know you've spoken about in the past about, and Mark has as well, of, you know, certain products entirely being created just off a chat like that, you know, a completely separate line, a completely separate completely separate product, just from the, you know, the casual conversations. So it absolutely can spawn from just that.
I think we created a brand new one this morning.
We might have, yes.
We can't promise anything, but that's pretty exciting if that happens.
It will be if it comes off. Yeah, it sounded good.
Mm.
All right. So what non-money fair or non-stacking surprises have you guys had while you've been over there?
It's been interesting for me coming to a place where, I mean, English is still very much spoken over here, but you know, there's certain things I've had to kind of figure out, and so that's been very interesting. But as you will have seen from some of the shots I did with the Sovereign video, you know, it's been really interesting to check out some of the architecture, places like Brandenburg Gate, and some of the history there. And even to the Berlin Zoo as well, to see some of the animals there. And yeah, it's been very interesting to be in a very, very different place to Australia.
So one of the
Have you
things
managed to sell that Sovereign yet?
I haven't.
Yeah.
Although in speaking to some of the international people, there seems to be a big desire for some of those kind of coins at the moment. So I might be in the money on that one.
So I did sell one Sovereign. We went to the gold changing facility, like place that with the one that's branded yellow, exchange.de, I think it's called. It's the one that you and I went to many years ago.
Yeah, I know the one.
And I'm going in there, and I thought, okay, let's see what it's like to exchange just foreign currency. So I exchanged some US dollars, and at the end of the transaction, we exchanged a Sovereign. The spreads on the US dollars were reasonable. I think it was like 11-cent spread. It was still better than you're going to get at a bank. But what was strange about the transaction, after we'd finished, I'd exchanged US dollars for euros, and we sold in a Sovereign, which they used a Sigma analyzer to test. So they're actually moved forward from last time we were here, where they didn't test it with anything. They just dropped it on the table and listened to it. This time they tested it with a machine, and they weighed it, and then they gave me the euros for it, which was a good rate. And they didn't even ask me for any form of identification whatsoever. So it was just cash. Here's US dollars. Here's your euros. Sovereign. Here's your euros. They didn't even ask me my name. It was just quick and easy like that. We were in and out within 8 minutes.
I would like to do a bit of a separate piece highlighting it at some stage, but it has been very interesting to see. I mean, a lot of it will come down to the advertising and things like that, but you know, we've seen signs of of things up to convert to gold. We've seen a bank had an ad that had photos of bars and maples, and it wasn't just that kind of oh, gold's important. It's very, very much so a lot more embedded in the culture over here, and it's been very interesting to see. And like I said, I'll probably show a little bit of anytime I've seen something like that. I've tried to at least take a little bit of video to kind of highlight it. But yeah, as you said to me in years previous, it's very interesting to see almost not quite every street corner, but it is kind of very much embedded in the culture, the idea of gold and stacking in general.
Yeah, I think you're hitting the nail on the head there. And I actually had this conversation in the shop yesterday about how it's not gold is not part of our culture, our cultural history, where it is a lot overseas, and particularly in Germany. It's probably, I was going to say, one of the few places. There's actually a lot of places overseas where gold is very, very closely aligned to money over there, far more than it ever is in Australia. It's definitely a transactional piece over there, which is it's great to see, and it's really good to experience as well.
Yeah, and it highlights the opportunity for education within Australia to get more people looking at it and embedded in the culture a little bit more.
Yeah, what we possibly should have done before you left is taken the sovereign out onto the street and asked the average passerby on Collins Street if they knew what that was, and then run a similar experiment on one of the streets in Berlin and see what the difference was.
And see if either of us still have the sovereign left at the end of it.
Yeah, I suppose so. Alrighty, so what else what are you looking forward to over there? What haven't you experienced yet that you're still hanging out for?
There's still a couple of meetings that I'm still very much looking forward to. But the main thing I'd say is the show itself. Yep. So that's it. I actually listened to the Michael's Mailbox you recorded the other day. And that's it. You talking about, even though you reckon you've set us some tough coins, just the fact of the kind of variety that is actually at the show. I'm very much looking forward to that. We get very we get a lot of variety through, but we are still just an Australian market. And so that's it, to be able to go to a show like this and really see what the world has to offer in this bullion space. I think there's going to be a lot of things that I've never seen before, and yeah, really looking forward to that.
You've had a few conversations with Matt over recent times about how they should be using the obverse side of the coin more and putting things other than just the face of the monarch on there. And we're seeing from the preview coins that we've seen so far that is very much a trend that will continue, with lots of interesting designs that incorporate the monarch, which I think is a good thing, particularly given that we're going to have a change of the monarch over the next year. So these designs look good. I haven't actually seen a King Charles backed coin yet.
No, not over here.
So all the 2023 releases we've seen have been Queen Elizabeth.
I believe you're going to the UK, both of you actually, after this, aren't you?
Yep.
Yes.
Is that correct? So it'd be interesting to see if you can get one of the 50p King Charles in your change over there.
We'll have to keep an eye out, for sure, for sure.
We'll have to do a segment on it if you manage it, mate.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So have you managed to, or do you think you're going to be able to achieve either of the goals that we've set you, or challenges we've set you up to now?
Well, we did the one that was a comment on making sure we tried a kebab from Berlin. So that one's a tick.
And the result of that?
It was very, very good. No complaints. Very delicious. The coin specific ones that I know of the Zimbabwean gold and the Death Star. I'm still not confident about the Death Star. I'm hoping that someone there will have the Zimbabwean gold coin, but if not, I still very much want to grab some Zimbabwean fiat notes, because I think that they are a great storytelling piece, and something that I think would be a cool addition to the shop, not to sell, but just as a bit of a highlight of, this is the downside of hyperinflation and fiat currencies in general.
Yeah. Have a look for some Venezuelan notes over there as well.
Yes.
They're pretty interesting. Yeah, I actually brought some back last time I was over there. So we do have a set for the shop. But yeah, like I said to you the other day before you left, watching them wheel in these pallet loads of Venezuelan notes is amazing.
Yeah.
So if you get a chance to do that.
And how's Australia been in our absence?
Oh, we're still firing along, mate. So the usual chaos in the shop, which is always good. The weather has been very European-esque.
Okay.
So I think tomorrow we're slated for a top of 18, I think, was what they're calling for Friday. So we're going through a very wintry blast in Victoria at the moment, and pretty much all the way up the east coast, I believe.
There you go.
Yeah,
So yeah, you're not missing much as far as weather goes. We're probably having yours is a bit cooler, but it sounds like similar weather.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All righty. Well, it's probably coming up for midnight over where you are right now, so we should probably sign off and let you. Because Mark's been flagging for a while in the corner there.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
we will.
my phone
let
went to sleep 3 hours ago.
So we will let you take a break, go and have a snooze, and thank you very much for dialing in, and we'll catch up in the next day or so with some more releases.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it. All right.
Bye.
Well, see ya.
See ya.